Welcome into the Starters Podcast Edition, episode number 10. I'm Dave Trenadoy. With me tonight, as always, is Simon Salikas. How are you, Simon?
Hello, Dave.
And, of course, Joey Alfieri. What's up, Joey?
What's going on, boys? What's up?
All right, so follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, The Starters 690. Find us all there. Don't hesitate to answer the questions play alongside us, comment, leave your comments, anything you guys want. Just The Starters 690. Find us on everything. We have all sorts of cool content on there. All right, boys, you ready? Let's get this thing going. Question number 1, brought to you by Cafe Milano, of course. Cafe Milano, 3 locations. Laval, St. Leonard, and of course the new one in the West Island on Brunswick, right off of Sources, where it'll be the place to be next Thursday, April 27th, as we will be having an NFL Draft watch party.
Oh,
excited!
Salikas, your Bears traded down to 9. Salikas, are you as excited as you would have been if they were 1?
No, I think picking 1 would have been interesting, to see if they didn't have a quarterback and which direction they would have gone in, and whether it was C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young. But now it'll be probably even more confusing by the time they get to their pick. If they're picking at the top, it's probably one of 2 quarterbacks, I think. But at number 9, we'll see what's available at number 9.
All right. Let's get down to business. All right. So question number 1: the NHL playoffs are underway, and 6 of the 8 teams' favorites lost game 1. Right. So I want to know. There's some games going on right now, obviously, but gentlemen, I want to know which game 1 loser is in the most trouble.
You could go ahead, Salikas.
You know what? I'm going to say it's the Vegas Golden Knights.
Oh,
wow.
I think there's, you look at Toronto, they lost, they got embarrassed in game number 1, but still a pretty talented roster. You look at Colorado, I think, they know how to win clearly. And I just look around and Vegas, the one glaring, when you look at matchups across the National Hockey League and you look one matchup that makes absolutely no sense, Winnipeg is just so much better in nets.
Yeah.
And I don't know, just catching a lot of the Winnipeg games coming down the stretch, because pretty much the only playoff phase that was interesting. Not that the wild card in the East wasn't, but the storyline between the Jets and the Flames, caught a couple of those games, got a chance to listen to our boy Dan Robertson call those Winnipeg games on TV. And Hellebuck is playing a really at a high level coming down the stretch. And I think he can steal a game. I don't even think he stole game 1. I think Winnipeg was just by far the superior team. So if you're looking in this series for a goalie that maybe can steal a game, I think it's him. They can score. Scheifele, Dubois was a beast in game number 1. And I don't think Steelers played, so whenever he can get back into the lineup, they got goals from who they expected. Mark Scheifele, if he can start just playing a little bit at a higher level, which he did in game 1, I think they're not your classic, they're not your classic 8 seed. And again, the disparity in goaltending, I think, is not small. It's not big. It's massive in this series. So I think the Vegas Golden Knights are in a little bit of trouble.
You're not a Laurent Brossoit guy?
I am not, because I have no idea who he was up until a couple nights ago.
I'm going to go with one that's going to be – I think this is going to be boring, but I'm going to go with New Jersey. Devils are young. I think the Rangers loaded up at the deadline and leading up to the deadline. It wouldn't surprise me if the Rangers ended up making it to the conference final. I just think it was a blowout in game 1. I just think that the Devils are in trouble. I think they took a big step forward this year, but there are a lot of guys getting their feet wet when it comes to playoff experience. So I'm going to go with New Jersey. I don't think they're coming back. But listen, it's Wednesday night. They play tomorrow. They could come back and then stomp the Rangers. I'm not going to bet on it. So I think the Devils, I don't want to underestimate anybody after one game, because I'm not big into, throwing anybody under the bus after a game. Even Toronto, Simon mentioned it. The Leafs are good. Tampa lost a couple bodies in that game. So
Leafs were up 4-0 last year and it didn't work out.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not going to go with Toronto, even though that's I think the funnest one to pick. I'm going to go ahead and say that it's the Devils. I think the Rangers are going to go through. I think they're better. They have more experience. I think the Devils are up and coming. They're going to be around for a while. I just don't think it's going to be this year.
All right, interesting answer, boys.
Sorry to our friend Amanda Stein, who's probably not going to be happy with that answer. But listen, it is what it is.
Loyal listener too, so yeah, I'm sure she'll have some words for you.
Reality hurts.
I'm actually worried about Edmonton, guys. I that was a question.
So?
Man, to tie it up last like what 8 seconds left. The just brutal way to lose if you're Edmonton, and I like what I saw from LA. So I thought
I went to bed and that game was 2-0. I PVR'd it. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna watch it. Then I happened to be scrolling on social media when I woke up and I saw like, wait, what happened? And so yeah, I mean, I went back. I watched the end of the game and a little bit of overtime, but it was all hunky dory when I went to bed.
And our boy Dano right there.
I've played them really tough as of late.
Yeah.
And look, you go down 2-0. I think you're done at that point. So a lot of game twos matter. You know.
You think they're done at 2-0? I don't think they're done at 2-0 either.
They're down to 2-0, Joey. Going back to LA. Yeah. Look, I think it's just like Toronto, right? You're down 2-0. It just the added pressure of your past failures. Now Edmonton, I think we overdo it with how the organization hasn't been good to Connor McDavid and haven't done enough. They were in a conference final last year. You're one of the last 4 teams playing, so they built a pretty good team. Mm-hmm. The acquisition was very good, but the amount of pressure that goes along with being, I think, in Edmonton and in Toronto, I can't imagine if they lose tomorrow. Like I can't imagine doing radio in that city or doing anything in that city. They're gonna go well past angry. They're wherever angry is, they're gonna shoot way past that. Yeah. It's gonna get ugly.
Well, the expectations were high. Yeah,
this could be one of the ugliest off seasons in NHL history. It's just because Matthews and Nylander have 1 year left on their deals, and that will be the topic of conversation the moment they get to OTAs or whatever they do in the NHL.
They're not trading either one of those guys. They're not.
But I know, Joey, but it's gonna be in question.
100% it will be, but I don't think they're trading anybody. I think the GM's gonna. Maybe the GM walks either way.
We're talking about what are you gonna do when it gets to the end of next season? Are they in play? Do you sign them? Do you continue? Is one of them walking? Do you watch 2 point a game players walk for absolutely nothing in the prime of their careers?
Right. I don't know. I guess it kind of depends on if they tell you, hey, I'm not coming back, but that's a story for a different day. That wasn't part of trying to do his question.
All right.
We'll have plenty of time to talk about that.
3-2 Florida.
I just saw Montour scored again.
There you go.
So let's move on to question number 2, brought to you by Station Pizza. Guys, I think I might actually be going there this week. I have another meeting. I told the boys, let's go. I'm looking at their grilled octopus. It looks amazing on Instagram. I think that's what I'm going with. Am I making a mistake? Should I be ordering something else? Well, obviously I'm really ordering on top of that, but I mean, just as an appetizer.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you get pizza or pasta to complement that, like that's an entree. 32. You got to go and get something. Hearty. Not to say that it's not hearty, but you gotta wash down the octopus with a pizza. No.
Oh yeah, of course.
Twice.
Yeah, that's true. Or 4 times. Who knows?
Once as a meal.
Or that, yeah. Or you could do that.
Yeah. Love it. All right. So question number 2. So I mean, like, look, the Penguins barely missed the playoffs, but they missed it in a terrible fashion, losing out to the Blackhawks towards the end. And Washington were a bit more ways away in terms of making the playoffs. So my question's simple. Who gets back to the playoffs first, Sid or Obi?
Okay, I'm going to go with the Penguins. I think they have a little bit more cap space, and I think there's a little more certainty around Crosby, Malkin, and Letang. I don't know. There's been all this talk about Kuznetsov. He hired new representation. I don't know. Like, he might be on the way out the door. I just think you look at what's in Pittsburgh, and I just think that they're – forget the fact that they finished higher up in the standings. I just think there are more pieces that can allow you to win now or make the playoffs right now. So, I think they still have good play down the middle. Like Crosby and Malkin were really, really good. Like, it's not even like they were bad. It's just, the supporting cast wasn't there. I think Tristan Jarry's UFA, if I'm not mistaken. So they're going to have to figure that part out. Or he's on the last year of his deal. I got to go back and check. But I think you can make things happen, assuming good health. I think you can make things happen with the Pittsburgh roster. There's a new GM. There's going to be a new president of hockey operations as well. So you'll get somebody with a fresh perspective. I think that they're going to keep pushing. And I think that you're going to, you'll see them make an effort. I don't think they're going to retool. I think there's a chance that Washington could retool. He's UFA at the end of this year, Tristan Jarry, at the end of 2022-23. So you got to figure out your goalie situation, but I think you can find a good goalie. You got to find some parts around them. I didn't really like the move they made for Granlund at the trade deadline. It was just way too much money for what the type of player he was. I think he's a good third line player, but to pay him $5 million a year is a lot. So I think there's challenges there. There's some money that you're going to want to get out of. Do you bring back Jason Zucker? But in the end, I think there's more good pieces on Pittsburgh than there is on Washington right now.
I just think you look at the Penguins season, you needed a save. I think that's what it came down to. Like Joey nailed it. Sidney Crosby had an outstanding season for 28th year in the league or whatever it is. And Evgeny Malkin had a very good year. Chris Letang had a good year. And there's a couple of the supporting guys that had good years as well. So I just think it came down to them classic hockey.
Yeah.
Hockey 101. They couldn't get a save when it mattered the most. And you look at Washington, you look at Kuznetsov maybe out. Correct me if I'm wrong. Dmitry Orlov was traded at the deadline, right?
Yep.
To Boston. So
So
the Capitals have already tapped out. And the Capitals are going to be in just keep Ovi around, pay him well, and make sure he breaks the Gretzky record in a Capitals uniform. Nicholas Backstrom, who I've always felt when we talk about the 10 best players in the National Hockey League in the last decade, he makes nobody's top 10 list, and he should be on everybody's top 10 list. A premier playmaker, excellent in his own end, great in the dot, everything. What is his health status going forward? And again, the big move that they traded Orlov. So they're kind of already in that we're getting ready to tap out here and just keep Ovi happy. Just make sure he gets his goals and he breaks that record in a Capitals uniform. And that'll entice people to stick around and come to the arena, where I think in Pittsburgh, many of the pieces are there and they are in play. Joe, you said Jarry might be a year's UFA.
Yeah.
Go out there, address the goalie situation, which is not something easy to do. But, man, I'm pretty certain if you shopped around and you did enough of your homework, you'll find somebody who was better than Tristan Jarry was this year.
Yeah. The thing is, Backstrom's not a $9.2 million a year player anymore. And John Carlson missed half the year. So, if you can get John Carlson back healthy, you can keep Kuznetsov happy and Backstrom channels, Backstrom of old. Then maybe you have a chance, but I wouldn't really bank on any of that happening. Anthony Mantha, I think, was a healthy scratch down the stretch. So, I think that they're going to probably going to look to move him. So, I don't know. I think we're on the same page here. I think Pittsburgh has a better chance than Washington does. But listen, when you have the greatest goal scorer of this generation, who knows? Anything can happen. But he's a winger, so I don't know how much he can influence. But I think it's Pittsburgh.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting who runs that team, right? One of the memes I liked yesterday was Kyle Dubas on his phone at one point in the game, and it was like a Google search right next to it, like best places to eat in Pittsburgh and best restaurants in Pittsburgh. I like that. I thought it was pretty.
They're talking about Ottawa too for Kyle Dubas, which was interesting.
Yeah, that would be a huge.
That would be an interesting move too. But I don't think he's going to be out of a job long.
No, definitely not. All right, question number 3. Brought to you by Next Level Hockey. Guys, I don't know, in their stories today, I don't know if you saw it, they have about like a 10-year-old girl, I want to say, and she has the best hands I've ever seen. Way better than any of the 3 of us. It looks amazing. I check them out, Next Level Hockey _ at Instagram. And Joy, have you been checking them out? Have you seen anything?
I don't know. I'll know if they're really good if they could turn me into Connor McDavid. But no, all kidding aside, I know Mike does a great job there. He has a great team. They work on the details of your game. They'll make you better. I know that they have some pros going there. They have NHL guys that go there in the off season too. That's how good they are. But they really work with. You mentioned it. There's a young girl there. They work with boys, girls, men, women. Any age, if you're looking to get better, improve your game during the offseason, improve your hockey skills, then go there. I don't think they can save me, but I think that if you have an ounce of talent, I think that you have a chance they can get more out of you.
Yeah, they do all sorts of on ice, off ice training. Yeah. It's pretty neat to see. All right, guys. So third question is going to be a Habs question, of course. Do you think the Habs are more likely to pick once or 3 times in the first round this year? What's more likely?
They have 2 right now, right? So they have Montreal's pick and Florida's pick. So they trade one or they get another one?
I got to stick to my script.
Which is?
Pierre-Luc Dubois in the middle between Anderson and Slavkowski. That's the dream. So if I say that, you're not going to get the Canadiens' 5th pick overall, but you might get the Canadiens' Florida Panthers pick. So I think that pick goes for Pierre-Luc Dubois. And I'm not sure. And I look at the lineup. So who can go and get you a first-round pick in this lineup? Clearly, Cole Caulfield and Nick Suzuki can get you multiple first rounds, but they're not being traded. So let's move down the depth chart. I don't think Edmondson, I don't think Savard can get you a first-round pick, maybe closer to the deadline, and maybe Josh Anderson. I don't think they move off Josh Anderson. I think they look at their lineup, and there's a lack of size if you have Suzuki, Caulfield. And I know if you have Doc, and if you do squeeze in a Dubois, then you become a big team. And I kind of have a feeling that this front office wants to go in that direction. And again, not 100% certain that there's a team out there that will part with a first-round pick for Josh Anderson. Maybe a team like Pittsburgh, I'm not even certain if they have one. But I'm going to say no. I think the Florida pick is in play to entice, whether it's a Pierre-Luc Dubois or something that we saw at the deadline last year, how they acquired Kirby Dach. Maybe they take some young talent on the blue line, they package it up with another prospect and that pick, and they make a Kirby Dach type acquisition, or maybe even a Sean Monahan acquisition. You go get a player who didn't have a good year last year, has 1 year left on their deal, maybe had some injury issues last year. You go and get him. You hope he plays well, and you flip him at the deadline. So I'm going to say I see them picking once in the upcoming draft.
Panthers got another goal here.
That's fantastic.
Let's see who it was. It's 4-2 now.
That's it.
At the time of this recording on Wednesday night. Yeah, you know what, Simon? I agree with you, but I'll just outline the way that I think that they get a 3rd pick. I think the most likely scenario, I think you hit on it. I think it's Josh Anderson. And you saw at the end of, after the season, the postmortem, you saw that it was you could tell it was weighing on Josh Anderson, all the trade talk. So I think where there's smoke, there's fire. I think that they'll go ahead and make that move. They do have a lot of veteran forwards that, not like him, but I think they have a lot of guys that they're not going to be able to move right away. And I think you want to make some room for some younger players. Kent Hughes said a couple weeks ago that they're still 2-3 years away from competing for a playoff spot in his mind. They're going to try, but they're still not where they need to be. So, to me, that means that Josh Anderson, I'm not keeping Josh Anderson for 2 or 3 more years. I get, he's an important part of the locker room. He's a guy who brings something unique to the table that they don't have in terms of size and speed. But I'll go ahead and say that the Pierre-Luc Dubois trade doesn't happen this offseason. Even though I think it does. I'm just saying this for the sake of not agreeing with Salikis. But I think that's the simplest path to getting 3 first-round picks is if you trade Josh Anderson and you get yourself another late first. That's how they pick 3. In reality, I think they pick 1. Who knows? I mean, I don't know. Maybe they do something for Lafreniere. I don't know. Maybe maybe something with the Rangers, the Jeff Gorton connection. I'm certainly not giving a lottery pick for Lafreniere basically at this point, but I mean, I don't know if they're willing to do the Panther pick and I don't know, something else off the roster. I'd be open to something like that. I think he's shown flashes. So, maybe they go out and get somebody else. I genuinely believe that they're going to pick once in the first round this year, but that's how they get to 3, I think, is if you move Josh Anderson. I don't think I'm with you, Simon. I don't think anybody else is going to fetch you a first-round pick. I'd be surprised.
All right. Question number 4, guys. Moving on. Club brought to you by Club CDL. They have a summer camp going out. Check it out. Summer tennis camp. They have summer memberships. I mean, they're just about to open their beautiful clay outdoor courts. So check them out. ClubCDL.com. All right,
I
guys.
did summer camps. I did summer tennis camps when I was a kid, by the way.
Oh,
Where?
So
Roland, yeah, no. At I don't want to say where. I don't want to plug them. No, I'm not plugging because it's not as good as Club CDL, so I'm not going to plug
there
them.
you go.
I'm just going to tell you the people there. When I used to walk around, you know what they used to call me?
Oh,
Joey.
They used to call me Rafa. That's what they used to call me.
What are the odds we can get you on a tennis court? I'd love to see. I'd love to play both.
Always clay court specialist.
I'm not. I'm a hardcore guy. I honestly, I think I don't know how well I can move around at this point at 33. But back at 12, 13 years old, I could move. I think I still got game. Honestly, I think I could take both of you, to be honest.
All right. Well, we're gonna have to see. We're gonna have to do our talking on the court because I'm down. They have hard courts there too, so no excuses.
That's less fun. Doing your talking on the court is less fun. It's more fun to talk off the court. Just ask Draymond Green. Yeah.
Okay. Well, speaking of Draymond Green, we're going to talk a little justice in the next question. So I want you guys to rank from least dirty to the dirtiest the 3 recent incidents in the NHL NBA playoffs. So there's Michael Bunting last night on Eric Cernak. There's Draymond Green on Domantas Sabonis, the little stomp or whatever, step over, whatever you call it. And, of course, Matt Dumba on Joe Pavelski a couple of nights ago. I want you to rank from least dirty to what you guys consider the dirtiest.
Okay, so Simon, could we get this out of the way right now? Dumba is 3, right? Like, is that to me? It was maybe a fraction of a second late, but the NHL said that it was within the limits, so they didn't get suspended.
When you mean a second, you mean like half a second.
Like not a second. I mean like 0.1.
Yeah, no.
A tenth of a second.
What was the other hit we saw yesterday? Was it Dumba? Did we see another one, or I'm just drawing blanks?
Yeah, you saw another one. There was who got blown up from Tampa Bay? Was it Point that got blown up from Tampa Bay?
Oh, McCabe. Yeah, McCabe.
No, I thought that was a very good hit.
Yeah, that was a great hit.
Solid hit.
Just you hit to separate the player from the puck, and sometimes you might be a half second late. I don't know why people keep talking about player leaving the ice. It is humanly impossible to hit somebody without leaving the ice.
Yeah, that one's fine. The Dumba one's fine.
Somewhat launch yourself. So I have no problem with the Dumba. The Draymond Green was a dirty play, a dumb, dirty play. I get why he did it. I can easily see myself doing the same thing.
You animal.
As you should have said, I brought out Peter Vrionis, who's one of our producers at TSN 690. And the trash talking I did to that man yesterday on the basketball court. He played well. In the third game, he kind of lit everybody up, but his team was on the losing end. Just to try. He was like, okay, enough already. So I can see myself fitting that Draymond Green role pretty well, but just not the time or place. And it's dumb more than dirty. Sabonis there lying on the ground, settle down there. It's not like the guy had like roller skates on or something. And the bunting is exactly what you don't want to see in hockey anymore. And sometimes when we slow down a hit, we dissect it. Oh, the shoulder caught the chest. Oh, but look, on the way out, caught a little bit of the chin, and we can debate that. There's no debate here. The bunting was a nasty, dirty play, and exactly the play that you don't want. See, that's the play that, like the Dumba play, is the one where somebody goes after Dumba for a clean hit. There should be an instigator penalty. Whereas the bunting, that's the one that should clear. That's the hit that should clear the benches. That's how bad that hit was. That one somebody should go after bunting and not even get, a penalty for instigating. That's how bad that hit was. That's exactly when the NFL, NBA, MLB, all sports, they sit down at the beginning of the season and they show up to everybody's locker room and say, guys, this is what's allowed. This is not what it allowed. This is this. This was acceptable last year. No longer acceptable this year. That's number one, man. The shot to the head when the guy doesn't have the puck, doing nothing, turning completely vulnerable. So by a mile. by a mile.
Yeah. And he skated by him. Like, nobody can convince me that he didn't know he was there, or the way he was, the way he was standing up, or like, I know he was a little hunched over, but to me, I'm with you, Simon. I'm just fed up of Draymond Green, though. Like, I can't do this anymore. Like,
Yeah.
he's not the same player that he once was, but I can't do this anymore. Like, like going Hulk Hogan, like, it was a 4-point
That's
game,
what he
man.
got suspended doing.
Well, but he got suspended because of priors to Simon. A lot of past history has to do with this.
He would have just, if he got suspended because he was making a mockery of the incident and acting like you said, like Hulk Hogan, and Adam Silver was sitting in his office and saying, "You just stomped on a guy. We threw you out of game, and this is how you think you're exiting it." What do we want to see?
This guy.
You wanted to see the malice at the palace again? This guy's, because now we've seen, right? Saw LeBron. I saw Kyrie throw out fans in the front row because they were talking too much trash.
Westbrook.
Russell Westbrook as well. And now you have a player sitting there calling out fans and enticing. And don't get me wrong, I'm the kind of guy that would probably do that. But you got ejected from a game, and you're going there and you're doing this and you're inciting the fans. I believe that's why he got suspended, because that's what Silver looked at and said, "Oh, no. You're just making a mockery of our league. Like, you got suspended, down the tunnel you go, and that's it." And it's funny because I called it a selfish play, and Mitch Galloway in and he said a selfish player. And this is it's such an interesting part here. Is he a selfish player? I don't think he's a selfish player, because I think that the guy would jump in front of a bus for Clay. I think he would jump in front of a bus for Steph. I think he'd jump in front of the bus for Andre Iguodala. This guy's a team player, man. He does the dirty work. He takes on the attention. He takes on the opposing team's best offensive player. He goes to the dirty areas, kind of like but he's got that switch, kind of like Tom Wilson. Like, he's an incredible part of a team that won a Stanley Cup. But when the wires touch, and a guy who hasn't, I think Draymond Green has an incredibly high basketball IQ. When the ball's in his hand,
yeah, he does.
There's no turnover. It's not going to the right place. It's going to open shooters. So even the basketball IQ is extremely high. But that is just, he's not a selfish player. That's just a selfish play, man. And, Sabonis had his foot. He did, which is wrong. But your left foot was firmly planted on the ground. You could have just hovered there with one foot on the ground and him holding the other foot and found a landing spot. I love that the officials told him you got tossed out of the game because of a stomping motion. You didn't put your foot down to find balance. You put your foot down with intentions of sending a message. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. We'll find out in game number 3. But not a good look, a terrible play, and good on the NBA, because I didn't think that they were going to go down that road.
I don't even know if I wanted the suspension, to be honest with you. Like, I didn't think he would get suspended, but I'm just done with it. Like, listen, Simon, he's going to retire with a minimum of 4 rings. He's going to the Hall of Fame because of the team he played on, the role he played. You're right. He plays a dirty, unselfish role. He's a smart basketball player when he wants to be. But every once in a while, this happens. This happened in the final a few years ago when they were up 3-1, and he went after
preseason.
It happened with a teammate. Look, last week we talked about, we had the Golden State Warriors, both of us going to the NBA Finals. Like, it would be this whole season would come full circle if it opened with him punching Jordan Poole, a teammate, in the face in training camp, and it ended with them getting swept in the first round by Sacramento. Look, I still expect them to come back. I think they're going to be okay. I expect them to come back and win game 3, even without Draymond Green, because I just don't see them losing game 3 at home. But, if they don't, at a certain point, somebody's got to grab this guy, because you have guys with a certain pedigree in that locker room, most notably the head coach. You have a couple of other players that are going to the Hall of Fame. Somebody's got to grab this guy and be like, "Listen, man, we appreciate all you do, but at a certain point, we really need you to get your head on straight. We can't let these moments happen. You've been in the league for more than a decade. We're trying to win another title here. We're defending champions. We have our work cut out for us already." It's a 4-point game when that happened, and he gets tossed. Had it just been a Sabonis technical foul, they would have gone to the free throw line, could have made a 1-possession game, and then who knows what happens there. But in that moment, I think he let them down. He's not available for game 3. So, look, I'm going off on a different tangent here, because I do think that Michael Bunting's play was more dirty. I'm fed up of Draymond Green. Like, I can't do this anymore. He had a great career. He's not as good of a player. I think he's still very useful to that team, but I think his contract's up after next season. I mean, I don't know if he goes to wrestling. I don't know if he goes to TNT. I don't know what he does. But if I'm Golden State, like, I think I'm ready to move on at this point.
Yeah, and they need you on the floor, man. That's where they need you on the floor.
They're not as good as they were last year. They definitely need him on the floor. So, anyways, they're staring 3-0 in the face. I think they come back and win at home at the Chase Center. But listen, I've been wrong before. I had them winning. I had them going to the NBA Finals. So I'm okay if my prediction's wrong.
I had the Warriors in the final. I had the Leafs.
I had Warriors, Bucks. Oh yeah.
No, Warriors, Celtics. And I had the Leafs and the Oilers in the final as well.
Oh boy. Well, yeah, Bunting was definitely
in Florida. I look up what crowd leaving. I don't know if it's called Boston Garden, but I will refer to it as Boston
TD.
TD Garden.
Yeah.
I flipped over to basketball now. Your Lakers lost without John Morant, Simon.
They're a better team without John Morant. That's it.
They have a winning record, I think, they had a really good.
They have a crazy record without John Morant.
Even last year.
Yeah, it's madness.
Yeah.
Lazy. Watched the first half of that game, very frustrated. I didn't watch the second half. That was my protest.
Yeah, I just want to say that there's two series in sports right now that I don't think I'm going to watch very much. Islanders and Carolina. I know they're playing tonight, and I think Carolina tied it late. But my equivalent to Islanders Carolina in the NBA is Minnesota and Denver. I mean, wake me up in the second round for that one. Hurricanes won again in overtime, by the way.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of the NBA, we'll go to question number 5, brought to you by EA Fitness. Simon, where is EA Fitness in Laval?
EA Fitness on Sampson Boulevard in lovely Chamonix, Laval. One-on-one training, very different from the traditional gyms that you go in and you pay your membership and you work out. This is a much more smaller establishment. Check it out on Instagram. You can get a good feel. They're very active on Instagram. And again, one-on-one training. You go in and you work with a trainer. Little things that I do is that I'm trying to work on the core.
Let's go.
Yes, sir. And as you saw, I banged out a poutine and a sandwich and a Coke.
I did see that.
Little things like if you or your child is into a specific sport, you need specific training. I can go in there usually on Thursdays, work on core and working on the ball striking so the golf ball can go a lot further.
So are you going to tell them what you ate on Wednesday when you go in on Thursday?
No need for that.
But no need. It's not a lie.
We're on that relationship basis, and
you posted on social media, so
I'm hoping we miss
it. All right. Question number 5, last question, based on a Paul George statement, right? He said that NBA players have a better chance of making it to the NFL than vice versa. Is that true or false?
First of all, Paul George needs to get back in the lineup here.
Tough question, man.
I'm going to say that he's right, though.
Because he's an NBA player to play in the NFL?
Yeah, I know there's obviously a lot more contact, but I do think that there's a certain level of finesse that you need to be in the NBA. And it's not to say that you don't have, like, there's obviously skills to make it to the NFL, of course, depending on position and player and body type and all that stuff. But I do think that the NBA guys would have a better, like most of them would be, a defensive end or, you'd have some receiver, tight end types. But I do think I feel like there's a lot more finesse that goes with being in the NBA. And I think that most NFL guys, there's some exceptions obviously to the rule, but I do think that most NFL guys probably won't have that finesse. So I think you're going to have certain guys who will be able to make the crossover. Like LeBron James could certainly make the crossover. Who else? Who can make the crossover from the NFL to the NBA?
NFL to NBA?
Like, I don't know, like Devontae Adams could play in the NFL probably if he could shoot.
Hopkins seems like he can
DeAndre Hopkins, sure, anyone. But I think for the most part, I do think that it would probably be easier for an NBA guy to make it to the NFL than vice versa. It's just there's finesse. You got to be able to shoot. And just because you're in the NFL doesn't mean you can shoot. So yeah. I'm going to say that Paul George is right on this one, even though I do think that there's some exceptions the other way too.
I think it's tough because we can only limit it to the skill position, right? So, because there's nobody that can make the transition to play O-line or D-line or anything like that. So
I don't know. Have you seen James Harden? I'm just kidding.
Or fullback.
That was mean. That was mean.
It's a tough question to answer. I probably think there's a whole bunch of more guys. I think there's more guys in the NFL that can play in the NBA than vice versa.
Really?
Because I'm thinking there's about, if I rattle off, like you can't play in the NFL and be 6'9", 6'10", 6'11". You're a dead man watching. Like once over the middle will be the last time you go over the middle.
You're blocking tight end, Simon.
I think you're just too big. You're a target. LeBron at 6'9" with that big frame, okay. But I just think that I think there's guys in the NFL that, like your boy Gino Lewis, right? Playing in the NFL, but he's got incredible
He
passion.
can shoot.
And
Gino can shoot. Yeah, he played ABA basketball, yeah.
I think that pretty much every wide receiver in the National Football League, the ones that we know, the skilled ones, can probably go and play point or do something in the NBA. And I just look at the NBA, I'm like, tell me a guy that can play wide receiver. I'm sure there are, but Ja's not a big guy. He's very athletic. I'm sure he's incredibly athletic. But I'll just say there's more guys just to me, Jefferson and Jamar Chase look like they both can ball in the NBA. I don't even know why. Maybe never even held a basketball. I don't know. But I'm just going to go on stereotypes that those athletic guys at the wide receiver position can find a spot in the NBA, where I don't know which NBA guy can make it in the NFL. Again,
there's more positions, though, Simon. There's more places you could put them. Linebacker, defensive end, defensive tackle, tight end.
Russ can play. Russell Westbrook can play safety. It looks like
long snapper.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, you could put these guys all over the place.
I don't know about that long snapper, Dave. I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna go with the skill positions in the NFL: wide receivers, cornerbacks, some safeties. You find a spot in the NBA. Whereas NBA players,
there's way more physicality to deal with. There's no doubt about that.
Look at like Embiid can't play in the NFL. What are you gonna do? Dead.
No, okay, I know, but not necessarily Embiid. But I think there's a lot of guys who are not 7 feet.
Like even Giannis at 6'11". Like, how do you miss Giannis going over the middle at 6'11"?
I'd love to see Giannis on a football field, though. Let me tell you,
killed. They're gonna get right after his knees. Goodbye. There's like 6 foot of leg you can just attack. I don't know. Questionable. I'll just go with the NFL guys can play in the NBA.
All right.
Well, let us know what you think. Don't hesitate to comment below with your answer for any of these questions, really, or all of them. And be sure to tune into TSN 690, 7 to 9 a.m. on Saturday and Sunday. You will find us there as well. The Starters 690 on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, everywhere, YouTube. Subscribe to our channel. And come check us out next Thursday at Cafe Milano West Island, because we will be there with jerseys. Some of us will have painted our chests and be shirtless. Who knows? But that's what we'll be doing. Thanks a lot for listening, and have a great night. Thanks, boys.
Ciao, boys.